We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. So, why aren't people more involved in crypto? They keep telling me that, people don't understand crypto because they don't know if it's money, they don't know if it's tech. But generally speaking, the general public, according to reports this morning, doesn't own crypto because they don't understand it. And you know what I have to say to that? That's bunk. I have a colleague who makes a remark every time she hears someone say, "Well, I don't understand crypto." She'll say to them, "Do you understand the stock market? Do you understand what the Magnificent Seven stocks do? Do you understand the price earnings ratio of the S&P 500? No. Then what's the problem?" Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the problem is. And then we're also going to go through some stuff. I got this from a guy I know. It's called the Common Man Inflation Index. And we're going to go over what Arthur Hayes had to say, which, is fascinating to the point where I'm just jealous that this guy can come up with these things. But back to, I don't understand crypto. They don't understand crypto because they don't have to understand crypto. Because there is fast becoming a day where purchasing power erosion or inflation and a stock market that is meh is going to require them to have to get involved. Other factors that could help them get involved, don't laugh, is that their bank gets into it. PNC Bank which I believe is a local bank out of Jersey. That's where their HQ is, has now got a partnership with Coinbase. And a regional bank is going to start offering crypto services. So rather than what I call the big money center banks or the big Wall Street banks or the big global banks, this is a U.S. regional bank offering crypto services, undoubtedly through USD and Coinbase. Okay, but stable coins eventually wind up in Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is like, again, all the rage in the media. And I can hardly get over it because now we have new headlines like Starlink Gaming buys more Ethereum. It's carrying these Michael Saylor style headlines. Now, again, when is the general public going to get it? Really? When prices are high, right? When it's on the front page of the New York Times, "Oh my God, Bitcoin is going up. Get in now." That's when it always happens, which is why I want people to do things like consume research, listen to whatever you have to listen to, study whatever you have to study, when in American terms, you're in the third inning of the baseball game. Baseball games are 9 innings long, the third of 9 parts. Okay. So, fascinating stuff about the general public and in many ways laughable. Now, speaking of laughable, the SEC flipped on an all altcoin ETF. I was like, oh, yeah. Cardano, Chainlink, Polkadot, XRP, 10 cryptos all in an ETF. And it really looked like the top 10, right? Binance making a new high. It just made sense until I guess somebody picked up the phone and says, "Why is my coin not in there?" This thing about tribalism in crypto is so annoying, right? Because everybody goes, "Wow, what about my coin?" And then you don't have an ETF. Versus if you had that ETF, then you could have the large cap, the mid cap, the small cap, etc. That's my suspicion. It's not actually, it's not actually in the data itself. Now, On the positive front, Solana SSK, that's the stock symbol ETF, broke 100 million as Wall Street warms up to crypto staking. Now, with that said, I'm kind of looking at my screen this morning watching Solana, like, I don't know, down tick to like 190. And I'm like, oh my God, how nice of these people. How nice. I mean, what are they going to do here? Take it down to 182? I'm like, well, bro, that's fine with me, because Wall Street's going to buy this stuff hand over fist. I mean, if you think they're all excited about Ethereum, you know, Pengu flipped bonk. Good for Pengu holders, obviously, out there in the audience. But oh my God, you have the speculative juices flying in Solana. So great. They want to correct this. More power to you. Seriously, I mean, yesterday was, the highest daily close for Bitcoin, I believe. Treasury Secretary Bessent is on television bragging about how much money they're pulling in via tariffs. They're going to pull in, they say, 300 billion. Now, that's interesting. I don't fully understand it, but believe it or not, the Commerce Secretary's Wall Street company is actually betting that a lot of these tariffs will be refunded to these countries. It's kind of funny. All right. But, tens or hundreds of billions of dollars in tariff money has got to go into the sovereign wealth fund, assuming they're not returning it all, right? Put the money in the sovereign wealth fund and use it to buy Bitcoin, for God's sakes, right? All right. Now, let's try some different information this morning. Fidelity continues to buy ETH, a very underrated player. Everyone focuses on BlackRock. Fidelity has two functions. One, it is, I believe, the largest mutual fund player out there. So pretty much every mutual fund in stocks, regardless of what it is, you could be like, it's the emerging market foreign stock ETF. It'll own the Magnificent Seven. It will. I used to work at Schwab. Trust me. Like every mutual fund, no matter what it was, owned Apple back in the day. Okay. So what Fidelity is doing is they're sucking up ETH to put either in their ETH ETF or whatever, most likely their ETH ETF, so that ETF can, follow me, go in every single type of mutual fund. So it can go in a U.S. stock fund. It can go in an international stock fund. It can go in an emerging market stock fund. Who knows? They could put them in bond funds. They're definitely going to put Michael Saylor security in bond funds, right? Because Ethereum is going to be considered, I don't know, like a currency. So you could put a little bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of Ethereum across a wide range of legacy products. And I know I'm pounding the table on this day in and day out. TradFi is what's going to moon crypto, because TradFi is going to pull out the supply. And then just like we've seen recently, we saw it in Bitcoin, we saw it in ETH, we saw a little bit of it in XRP, we saw a mini rally in Solana, and I continue to believe this is going to go on across the board. Across the board. And again, the administration is going to need ongoing distractions. Either they're going to get on Powell's case, or they just have to keep crypto going. Because one of the things that's really interesting about crypto, and I have lived this, is it's actually very hard to get a job in the crypto industry. Like, I mean, back in the day when I was in college, the objective was to get to Wall Street, right? And I had to work extra hard, right? Because I had to walk up the hill in the snow with no shoes. No, I'm kidding. I went to a public school in Jersey called Rutgers, uh, and I had to beat the Ivy League guys to a spot because the Wall Street banks used to recruit on campus. So they'd send two beautiful people and they'd set up a table and they'd collect paper resumes. And it was like if you had a certain GPA and you went to a certain school, they couldn't get you in there fast enough. They couldn't get you in there fast enough, but crypto is not like that. It is absolutely not like that. And I think, even though it's nauseating to the people at the heart of crypto, the future of crypto jobs is going to be inside banks, particularly in an advisory role. Because if you go back to the first thing we talked about, which is, why is Joe Public not involved? Well, maybe it's because no one is explaining it to them, but you have to ask yourself, who explains things to the general public? They're certainly not going to Google it, although there's been some of that lately. Right? They're financial advisors. Or even if they don't have financial advisors, they can call groups at places like Schwab. They can call them up and be like, hey, I used to work there. You can say, hey, what can you tell me about Bitcoin? I mean, they are allowed to talk about this stuff now. So when you hear Fidelity buys Bitcoin or Fidelity buys Ethereum, you have to start taking this seriously, even though you hear it every day, because they're just absolutely sucking the supply out of the system. And the ultimate statistic about supply being sucked out of the system is that, did you realize that 6.5% of the total Bitcoin supply has been purchased above 115K? Can you believe it? 6.5% of the supply. Now, that's obviously Michael Saylor involved, right? But that's all these big mutual fund houses pouring into these ETFs. Right? The higher the demand for the ETFs, the more of this stuff they gotta buy. And as I have noted, 77K, oof. At 115K, wow, this is a great buy. We got to get involved. Right? So with TradFi comes, a serious supply drain along with some serious silliness, because it's absolutely, it's like you cannot underestimate the general public. And then once the general public gets it, either because there's some sort of outside shock, which we'll try and talk about with Arthur Hayes, right? There's either some outside shock or a simple call from their financial advisor, particularly if stonks stink. Because one of the reasons why you may be seeing a correction in crypto today, other than the fact that it was probably a little overbought, is that these tech companies are all releasing earnings this week. So, first they were down 25% because it's the end of the world. Now, it's at an all-time high. It's a glorious new age. Let's hire scientists for lots of money. We'll find out when the earnings come out. You can have stocks trading on Kool-Aid until the earnings come out. So when I saw this down for the second day in a row, I'm like, oh, well, we're running from the Magnificent Seven earnings. Because a lot of times crypto likes to get ahead of that. Now, again, let the algos come out. Let the algos trade that, and let everyone figure out that there is limited capital upside in stonks. Zero Hedge is reporting people's electric bills are going to skyrocket, right? The Skynet group, the Skynet companies is what I call them. It's not the Magnificent Seven anymore. It's Skynet. The Skynet companies are going to liquid cooling because they can't get enough power. So they actually have to go to, I think, it's water as a cooling mechanism for these giant facilities. And I'm glad they're building the giant facilities, because I basically use AI all day But this costs money, right? And they're spending money with no clear revenue upside. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to spend $30 billion on a data center. I'm going to spend $1 billion on people for a chatbot that's a $20 a month subscription. I mean, they want people to build on their models. But the point I'm trying to make is, what exactly is the upside in stonks? Like, do you have upside in stonks? You compare that to the upside that you have in crypto. It's not even close. And Legacy is going to be offering these products to retail and institutions so they can say, okay, well, we can just do what they do organically, which is rotate out of the big stocks and into the small stocks, which is what? Crypto. Okay. Speaking of stocks, Grayscale is going to go public. Does anybody remember GBTC? That was the equity market Bitcoin product before BlackRock got involved. Grayscale has a wide suite of crypto products where, they're not technically ETFs, but they serve a similar function. Okay. They have a huge array of products. And if that IPO is gangbusters, ready? That's a huge boom for altcoins. Because if you have Grayscale go public, people are going to go, wow, what's Grayscale? What do they do? Oh, they have these products? Oh, the Grayscale IPO, comes out at, I don't know, $20 and moons to 80, like what they did with Circle, because they just love that in equities. This becomes a giant altcoin commercial. So the Grayscale IPO that highlights the Grayscale crypto investment products is a boom for altcoins. Ironically, if anything, it just kind of hit me now that if the SEC flip-flopped on an ETF from, say, whatever smaller company was doing that, that's because they don't want to interfere with the Grayscale IPO. The phone rang over there and goes, guys, we're trying to do an IPO over here, and I think we contributed to the campaign or something like that. The Grayscale IPO is going to be a very big deal because Grayscale, obviously, after BlackRock ate their lunch on both GBTC and I believe the ETH product that they had was ETHE, I charted it all the time. So the big guys ate their lunch and they had to go to altcoins. They have like AI, they have layer ones, they have all this stuff. So that's going to be a big deal. And tracking what Legacy is doing, right? Even with Galaxy Digital, right? Mike Novogratz's stock of the US hedge fund, which went public, but they didn't get the fanfare because Circle stole the show. Meanwhile, Mike and Galaxy, they're a top 10 Bitcoin holder. And all of these companies that are going to need services, they may go through Galaxy Digital to get advice, right? It's going to matter that the biggest hedge fund in the world can also perform functions like what Goldman Sachs can perform in the equity market. And that is a very underrated stock. I mean, obviously it's done well lately. But you can't blow this stuff off anymore. Okay. So why is crypto correcting? I'll give you a simple statistic. Ready? Fartcoin jumps to top 10 based on derivatives open interest, signals speculative frenzy in the Solana meme coin. This is unbelievable. Like, this is called the crypto kill switch, right? Like, we need the speculative juices, but if the AI play is Fartcoin, we're not getting the message. We're not getting it. right? We're not getting the need for decentralized AI as much as we can, right? There's a story out this morning that I'm actually tying in with antivirus and John McAfee. There's a guy writing code at a company called Replit, which, my partner uses that to make websites. She actually wrote a book, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited about Replit." Okay. Now, some computer programmer at Replit is writing code or managing a database using an LLM, large language model, which was under specific instructions to not make any changes without permission, right? Over and over and over again, don't make changes without permission to, the bigger picture. Well, guess what? The AI agent just decided to delete the code base. I was like, the most efficient way to do this is to delete everything, something like that. And the guy posted it on Twitter. This is what you're getting from Web 2. Okay. So welcome to the era of Skynet, which is largely why, John McAfee, the roadmap that they published on Medium, the market cap of that company, the privacy layer that they're going to have, which is going to feed off that Tornado Cash trial. Tornado Cash and the Tornado Cash developers are not guilty, and privacy is officially on. Whoa, Nelly. Because, these large language models, if you've used them, that if they don't know, they will make stuff up. Or, they'll start getting off track and you have to go, no, refer to the file. I want you to do this. And like, oh, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. This is what happens when they're all in a hurry, and they all are in a hurry. Meanwhile, back at the decentralized ranch, as I've mentioned, there are AI projects. We wind up looking at 3 to 4 per week, at least. They have market caps of like 25 or 30 million. Like the decentralized AI universe in crypto. I don't know. It's like the vegetable stand. It's like the vegetable department where like you go to buy mushrooms and, I don't know, they have mushrooms with like a 2-day expiration. Like they're going to expire in 3 days. And they have those little 50% off tags. They're pretty bright, right? When produce and meat they wanted to get it out of there. They're like 25% off. Boom. Put that big fat sticker on there. It's 25% off. People are treating AI and crypto like it's, I don't know, some like, mushrooms about to expire or something. It's like, well, over there. I don't care. Dude, there are opportunities out there and they spank this market. Like, for example, I would have thought this was absurd, but if they take Solana down to like 182, if there's like a third down day on Magnificent 7 Hootenanny, oh my God, people. Oh my God. This is not investment advice. It's views and opinions. But again, you have to ask yourself, where do you want to be invested in the AI sector? Where? Right? And guys like Arthur Hayes are telling you, because his price targets are out there like, 250 for Bitcoin, 10K for ETH. It's amazing how 10K for ETH has now become consensus when the consensus target 2 months ago was 0. Okay. When you have thought leaders like this with those kind of targets, again, the most important thing to do is ask yourself, what does the world look like at Bitcoin and ETH at those levels? AI agents are undoubtedly involved. I don't know if decentralized agents are better than what comes out of Web 2, but I'm willing to give it a try, at $30 million market cap versus $4 trillion. It's like, wow, you guys are at a $3 trillion market cap and you got LLMs like, doing whatever they want. And that is also inevitable, which is why I think the common public especially in crypto, it's got to get a little piece of that. I mean, yeah, you can buy a Magnificent Seven stock, but is it priced in already? These are questions you have to ask yourself, particularly on down days. Okay, let's welcome who's here. Thomas Chai, welcome. Ben from Down Under. Zepedas, Tyler Hall, what's up? Arendam, Eric, Blown Ideas, Warmon, welcome. I'm pretty sure Warmon is up there with SGSG as one of the originals. It's too bad we can't go back and check, but I remember when we started, there were 3 guys. There's 3 guys. Holy schmoly, PDA, David, welcome. Miguel, Eric, PNC Bank is in Jersey. It is. The hockey arena in Jersey is the PNC arena, I believe. Yav, Stefan, welcome. Can I comment on Arrow? Yes, Arrow is going to pump. Arrow has got a rising wedge formation, and all it's going to take is ongoing consolidation. So after the ETH dip, I want to get after Arrow and Pepe in the ETH universe, along with my classics like your Uniswap and your Aave, because as I pointed out later, there are very few crypto projects that actually generate revenue, only about 15%. And I'm going to tell you right now, those products, those projects that actually generate revenue, they are going to be inside ETFs for sure. Like I think the first big multi-coin ETF will be filled with DeFi projects that actually make money. Okay, Babilo, Stefan, Shelly Farmer Allen is here. Hello. All right, friends, that is the market update for today. We will see you tomorrow.